Your expectations largely determine the quality of your life in this sense, is that whatever you expect with confidence becomes your self-fulfilling prophecy. Whatever you expect with confidence becomes your own self-fulfilling prophecy. In other words, you are always telling your future by the way you talk about how you think things are going to turn out. You are like a fortune teller in your own life. And if you believe that things are going to turn out well, if you expect them to turn out well, then by gum they do. If you believe that you're going to be popular and that people are going to buy and that you have a great product and a great company and you're going to have a great life and you're going to be accepted and well received by people, and then you act that way. So it's very, very important that you always expect the best. And this is the key. Expect the best. Expect the best. Expect the best of yourself. Expect the best of other people. But especially expect the best of people who look up to you. Interesting difference between winners and losers. Can you guess? Prior to every sales call or experience, both of them visualize and recall a memory. But winners recall their previous success experience and how happy they were about that. And non-winners recall their previous unhappy experience and how bad they felt and how depressed they felt and how unsuccessful and so on. So winners think of their past success experience and they set up a force field of energy that largely creates that experience. Sometimes when you walk into a room, if you are really up, people will turn their head. I mean, the vibrations will hit them. They'll turn their head. They'll notice that you've come into the room. So this is very much determined by the thoughts that you're thinking. We'll talk about this as we go along. So the law of attraction says you're constantly attracting into your life people, circumstances, ideas, resources in harmony with your dominant thoughts, but it is a neutral law. Nature is neutral in this sense. If you think negative thoughts and worried thoughts and anxious thoughts and angry thoughts, that's what you attract into your life. And so it's really important that you be aware of that. Sometimes just challenging one thought can transform your life. I'll give you a quick story. Once upon a time, there was a young guy, grew up in a family. His father was a Fortune 500 executive, extremely wealthy. This kid grew up, he had everything, he had servants, he had money, he had everything else. He grew up spoiled beyond belief. And his father was busy working and so on. But for one reason or another, he grew up and he was very spoiled. He was pushy, he was arrogant, he was rude toward the servants and toward other people. And the father realized he had raised a really spoiled, wastrel type kid because he never had to work for anything in his life. Well, the young man went off to college, completed college, reasonable grades, and then he came back and he said, "Okay, Dad, get me a job." Nice kid. The father said, "All right, I will get you a job." The father realized he'd made a mistake with his son, and he wasn't quite sure how to help him. But he got him a job with another Fortune 500 company, and the young man went to work, and after 18 months, boss called him in and said, "You're fired. We don't want you around here anymore. Your work is low level. You're not very competent. You're fired. Get out." Well, the young man was shattered. It's his first job. His friends have got jobs, friends working in large companies. He comes home. He's been fired. His father said, "Well, I'll see if I can get you another job." So a couple of months goes by. His father gets him another job. He goes and he works for 18 months at this job. This time he works really hard because he's determined not to be fired. After 18 months, boss calls him in and says, "You're fired. Get out of here. We don't want you around here. You're worthless. You're no good." Kid goes home, and this time he's in mid-20s. He's really upset and angry. His father says, "Well, let me see what I can do. I'll call around." And this time he gets him another job. 18 months later, he's fired for incompetence. He does this 4 times. The son discovers when he's about 28, 29. By this time, he's working hard. He's working long hours. He's working himself silly so he could do a great job, so he could really work up. And he's doing a great job. He's gotten better and better, more disciplined, more focused and everything else, but fired 4 times in a row from major companies. And then he finally finds out somebody lets him slip. And he said, "Well, why am I being fired?" He said, "Well, that was the deal." He said, "What do you mean deal?" He said, "Well, the deal was I told your father I would put you on for 18 months, and he agreed as long as I would fire you at the end of 18 months. So quite honestly, you've done a fantastic job here, one of the best people we've ever seen, but that was the deal." This young man went home, and he's in his late 30s. He is so mad. He gets into a shouting contest with his father. He swears at him. He says, "That's it." He said, "I will never talk to you. I will never have anything to do with the rest of my life." He walks out, leaves, he gets his own job this time with a Fortune 500 company, becomes a crack executive, moves up to a senior position. He's well paid, well respected, and at the age of 38, he's still mad. He's talking to his spouse or something else on what his father did all the way in his 20s. His wife said, "Honey, did you ever think that maybe your father loved you so much he was willing to put you through all of that, knowing you'd end up hating him, but he did that to make you the kind of man that you've become today?" And it was just like a whack in the face. And suddenly the son realized, in all honesty, he was a jerk when he came out of school. And that now he was a successful, highly respected person, and it would never have happened in the absence of those experiences. So he went to his father. He's now 38 years old. Father's about 60-something. Went to his father and confronted him and said, "Is this true?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "I hated to do it." He said, "But I realized I made a mistake in raising you, and I had to compensate for it. I had to make you the kind of person that you could be, and that would only happen with adversity. And so I was willing to lose you in order to save you." And they embraced, and they became the best of friends for the rest of their lives. True story, by the way, true story. So my point there was what he did is, from being angry to the age of 38, he changed his perspective and realized that what had happened was a good thing. What was happened was done out of love and not out of unkindness. My friend Wayne Dyer has this little one-liner. He said, "It's never too late to have a happy childhood." It's never too late to have a happy childhood. The work at the University of Pennsylvania says basically that we see the world based on what is called our interpretive style. And your interpretive style is the way you interpret things to yourself. So if you change the way you interpret things to yourself, your attitude toward everything changes. You've also heard it that the average person uses only 10% of their potential. Well, this means that there's fully 90% of your potential left untapped. Some people only use a small part of their potential, but imagine that you could earn twice as much, 3 times as much, 5 times as much, just by using more of your potential. Well, according to the Stanford Brain Institute, that did some studies on this, the average person really only uses about 2% of their potential. They're saving up the rest for some good purpose that we don't know yet. But the average person functions on 2%. 2% gets you the entire quality of your life that you have today. That means, by the way, average is 2%, some are less than that. Some use less than that. And what we do is we use it to get up in the morning, brush our teeth, go to work, go home, watch television. But we don't use it for very much. But let's just pretend and say we use 10% of our potential. Well, that means that your self-concept is limited to only 10% as well. We also know that each person has a series of mini self-concepts. Now, you have a self-concept for every part of your life or work that you consider to be important. For example, you have a self-concept for every sport that you play. You have a self-concept for how well you sell. You have a self-concept for how you dress and for how much you weigh. You have a self-concept for your creative ability and your memory, your ability to tell stories, your sense of humor. You have a self-concept for your appearance. You have a self-concept for any kind of musical instrument or anything else you do. You have a self-concept for how much money you earn. What they have found is that every person has a self-concept which is like a thermostat. And this self-concept with regard to money, you never go more than 10% above or below your self-concept level of income. If you earn 10% or more above your self-concept level of income, you immediately go into what I call throwaway behaviors. You do everything possible to get rid of the money. You give it away, you spend it, you go out for dinner, you buy champagne, you order drinks for everybody at the bar. That's why if ever you win a prize or something, the very first thing you think of, let's go on a vacation, buy a motorhome, get some jewelry. And 68% of people who win the lottery are broke again within 3 years. They have more money than they've ever had in their life, but it takes them so far out of their self-concept that they go just like a rocket that goes off course and starts to spin, and they go crazy. But if you earn 10% or more below your self-concept level of income, you engage in what are called scrambling behaviors, and you scramble to get your income back up. But once you're into that 10% range, well, plus or minus, you relax. And this becomes your comfort zone. This becomes your comfort zone. And the great enemy of human success is the comfort zone. In this comfort zone, you're comfortable. Now, you may not be happy with the amount that you're earning, but you just become comfortable with that amount. The only way that you can increase your income is to change your self-concept in relationship to income. And what we know is that your overall self-concept is determined by your self-concept in all the areas of your life that you consider important. You also know this, is that your self-concept is made up of 3 parts. Again, this is basic behavioral psychology. Number 1, it's made up of your self-ideal. Now, your self-ideal, like 3 wedges of a pie, consists of your values, it consists of your ideals, it consists of your goals, it consists of your hopes, it consists of your dreams, it consists of all those things that are inside you. And what we know is that there's a direct relationship between how clear you are about your goals and ideals and your self-ideal. What do we know about top people? Top people are clear about what they believe in, and they don't compromise their values. What do we know about little people, weak people? Is they're very confused about their values, and they compromise them for the slightest advantage. So my point is that people with a very clear self-ideal are much stronger and more powerful people than people who are unclear about their ideals. The second part of your self-concept is called your self-image. And there's hundreds of books on self-image psychology, but basically what they say is your self-image is the way you see about yourself and the way you think about yourself. Your self-image is called your inner mirror. Whenever you go to do anything, you check this mirror like a stage performer checking the mirror before they go on the stage. Before you go in to see somebody in a sales call, you just kind of check your inner mirror to see, how do I perform in sales calls? And your performance on the outside is largely determined by your self-image, 1-to-1. Remember that ratio. The third part of your self-concept is your self-esteem. Now your self-esteem is the most important part of all. This is the emotional part of your personality. This is what I call the nuclear reactor core. This is the energy source. This is the power in the human personality. Your level of self-esteem determines your level of vitality, energy, personality, sense of humor, creativity, personal strength, influence, persuasiveness, and so on. So your self-esteem is critical, and your self-esteem is defined as how much you like yourself. How much you like yourself is the measure of your self-esteem. How much you like yourself. Here's an interesting point, is whenever your self-esteem, your self-image, your personal performance is consistent with your self-ideal, the person that you would most like to be, your self-esteem goes up. Whenever you do anything that is consistent with the best person you could be, you feel happy, you feel proud, you have greater self-respect, you have more energy. Whenever you do something that's not like you blow up, you get mad, you swear, you do something that, that's not consistent with the best person you could be, your self-esteem takes a hit. But when you start to act in a way consistent with the best that you know, your self-esteem goes up. But here's the most important part. The most powerful words you'll ever learn are the words, I like myself. I like myself. Whenever you say the words, I like myself, your overall self-concept goes up. Your self-image improves and your self-ideal clarifies. And as your self-concept goes up, your performance and your behavior at every part of your life goes up as well. They say the flip side of self-esteem, like a coin, is called self-efficacy in psychology. And self-efficacy is how competent you are. So whenever you do something well, your self-esteem goes up and you like yourself more. And the more you like yourself, the better you do. And the better you do, the more you like yourself. And the more you like yourself, the better you do, and you get onto an upward spiral. So what we found is the most powerful words that you can use prior to any event of importance are the words, I like myself.